Hey, it's Miss Chris. I'm back. I know I've taken a really long hiatus, but I had a lot of things going on and I need to get things settled. And I want to also figure out what new topic I wanted to speak about. What's been going on with me? I went into grad school. I'm entering grad school. I just started, I believe it was last Monday. I am getting my master's in clinical mental health counseling. Now, I know you're saying, Miss Chris, didn't you just get out of school? Yeah, actually, I did. I just got out of school in January with my BA. Now I'm getting my MA. I have a lot of life experience helping foster youth, at-risk teens, and I figured I want to get the clinical aspects of helping at-risk children. And I think it would complement my life experiences, not only living the orphan archetype, but also helping other children as well with the clinical aspects. So that's what I'm doing now. And today, what I want to talk about is the mythological aspects of being orphaned, abandoned, and in foster care. Yes, there's a mythology behind it. It's a huge mythology. Most of our stories, not all of them, but most of them have at least one orphan or foster youth or abandoned child in literature and movies. A lot of them do. And a lot of them you're familiar with. But first, we're going to start off, we're going to talk about the gods and goddesses that have been orphaned or abandoned. And the first god I want to talk about is Chiron, the Greek god known as the wounded healer. He's a centaur, and he was abandoned by his mother, Philyra, and his father, Kronos, also known as Saturn. Kronos was always going around having affairs, and he was about to have sex with Philyra. I think he was in the process of raping her, and he turned himself into a stallion, and he impregnated Philyra with half human, half stallion seed, and Chiron was born a centaur, which we know as to be Sagittarius. Uh, and Chiron was adopted by Apollo, or Ra, the sun god, and he was taught everything. Apollo taught him everything that he knew. And Chiron turned out to be a great healer. He specialized in medicine, healing, music, gymnastics, and he mentored some of the Greek other gods like Achilles, Hercules, and Jason from Jason and the Argonauts. Now, Chiron was wounded by his friend Hercules with an arrow in the leg. The arrow had Hydra blood on it, and that would cause great discomfort, and the wound never healed because Chiron is immortal. He was a god. So to ease his suffering, he wanted to stop suffering. He decided to take Prometheus' place on Tartarus. Prometheus was accused of giving fire to humans. Fire represents knowledge, giving knowledge to humans, and he was tied to this rock, and he had to push this rock up the hill while an eagle pecked at his liver for all eternity. Chiron was like, you know what? I'm just going to just take his place, and I'm going to become immortal, and I'm going to die, and I'm going to be done with all this hurting. And that's what he did. And because he was so noble, and because he sacrificed himself for another, they gave him his own constellation in the sky, which we know as Sagittarius. So that was one god that was abandoned. We also want to talk about Anubis, also known as Anpu. Anpu was abandoned by his mother Nephthys, and was reared by his aunt Isis. His father Osiris was having an illicit affair with Nephthys, and Nephthys abandoned him in the desert because he didn't want Set or Setuk to find him. And he was raised by his aunt Isis, and he became Isis's ally and protector. And we know Anpu, or Anubis, to be the embalmer. He also takes the living to cross them over from living to the dead, and he also weighed your heart, and your heart needed to be lighter than a feather in order to cross over the realms. So Anubis was another mythological god that was abandoned. We're going to talk about the last god we're going to talk about is Remus and Romulus. Remus and Romulus were twins, born from a virgin birth from a maiden that was locked in a tower. And she told, I forgot who she told, the twins were abandoned on a basin, and they were raised by wolves, a pack of wolves. When they grew up, they came back and overthrew their tyrannical, I believe it was great grandfather and they put the uncle back on the throne. And they also founded Rome. Rome is named after Romulus and Remus. So when you look at the mythological aspects of gods and goddesses, they have always had at least one parent that was supernatural. So like Romulus and Remus, they were born of virgin births. So that means something supernatural, a god had to come down and impregnate the mom. So they were destined to go out and be exiled into wilderness and to learn skills, magic, secure allies, become warriors, and then come back to the kingdom, their rightful kingdom, with the elixir. The elixir is the knowledge to help other people, and take their rightful place on the throne in the kingdom. And that's the gods and goddesses' heroic journey as being orphaned or abandoned. They learn the skills, they overcome the obstacles and struggles of being abandoned and raised by wolves and birds and, living on twigs and fees, and come back and take their rightful place within humanity. Now, when it comes to fairy tales and folklore, we have lots of stories. We have Cinderella, Snow White, Peter Pan, Heidi. We have Pippi Longstocking. Now, Pippi Longstocking was one of my favorite orphans. Something about her. I know you guys are probably too young to know who Pippi Longstocking is, but look her up. It's a very old cartoon. I used to watch when I was a little girl. It was funny because I ended up being like Pippi Longstocking, like an orphan. But I liked Heidi as well. We also have, did I say Snow White? Let me look at my notes, make sure I got everybody. Rapunzel. We have Colette from Les Mis. We have Mowgli from the Jungle Book. We have Huckleberry Finn. We also have Harry Potter, Voldemort, and Neville Longbottom. I think I'm saying his name correct. Also orphans. Now, the difference between the gods and goddesses being orphans and fairy tale and folklore. The fairy tales and folklore talk about regular, ordinary people. They weren't born from gods and goddesses. They weren't destined to take over continents. They weren't born in exotic places. They're everyday people like you and I. And their journey is about overcoming the obstacles and the hardships and the people that have taken advantage of them without losing their souls and their humanity in the process. That's what their heroic journey is about when we talk about orphans and abandoned children in fairy tales. How they keep their souls and their humanity amongst overwhelming odds and truly, truly evil, despicable people trying to do them in. That's the heroic journey. And usually in the end, they are rewarded with wealth and happiness and love and great relationships and everything they can possibly ever wanted. They are rewarded. And that's the reward. That's coming back to the kingdom with the elixir in the heroic journey. And the rewards is knowledge, skills, wherewithal, willpower, strength, purpose. All these come with being able to overcome obstacles and using your willpower to succeed. And that's what we take from stories. That's what we take from movies. I'm always telling you guys to look beyond the story. Look at what the story is trying to show you, what the story is trying to tell you, especially in movies and television. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of times I have to watch movies twice. Stuff like Star Wars and John Wick and Atomic Blonde. I'm so busy looking at the visuals and the fighting and all the stimulation of my senses. Then the second time I have to go back and say, okay, what's going on in this story? What's the heroic journey? How is this character spiraling up and out? Remember, I'm always talking about up and out, up and out, up and out. You never want to do this. Up and out, up and out. How is this character spiraling up and out? What is the heroic journey? I'm always looking for characters in these movies, that they might have mentioned, oh, I was in foster care, or I was orphaned, or I was raised alone, I don't have any family. And those are the characters I really hone in on, especially characters like who are assassins like John Wick, the Atomic Blonde, Charlize Theron. They were probably orphaned or foster care kids, because they take orphans and foster care kids and put them in scenarios because they are moldable. They have no family ties, and they have no societal ties. So they're like clay. You can mold them into to be and do whatever you want them to be. They have no identities. So whenever you see it's like James Bond was orphaned. His parents were killed. He was raised with his friend's family. If you watch the movie Spectre, they explain his story. And what is he? An assassin. So, you know, not saying that all foster kids and stuff, orphans in these stories and assassins, but usually assassins in stories are usually orphans. So that's my take on the mythological aspects of being abandoned and orphaned or foster youth in stories and folklore. I hope you enjoyed this. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and tell a friend. Until next time, remember to be the hero of your own journey. Bye.